Too hot today. I was gonna create things. It is too goddamn hot. So, I'm just lying on the couch playing Stardew Valley trying to not sweat. So, we'll try again tomorrow. Hello, good morning, happy Monday. It is still so warm in this apartment, but I want to make stuff. So we're gonna make stuff later. First, however, in about an hour, I have a dentist appointment because your girl has had lockjaw for the past week and a half, for like 10 days. I have TMJ. I also think I have bruxism, so like I grind my teeth at night when I sleep when I'm stressed, which is essentially all the time. I remember I went to the dentist or last time I went in for a cleaning, and he was talking about how worn down my teeth were because I grind on them so much when I sleep, and he's like, do you lead a high stress lifestyle? And I was like, you could say that. So I think I might need to get myself a night guard, but I'm going to the dentist today to hopefully get that sorted. I am currently answering emails, just going through my different email accounts and answering queries and things like that. And then today I was hoping that we could draw a bit, maybe paint a bit. I don't know. I haven't made stuff for a very long time, and so I'm hoping that like we could sort of get back into it together. I thought that would be nice. So, God, it's so warm. Okay, we'll work something out. Hello, it's voiceover Cheyenne. Hi. I decided that I wanted to paint today. Actually, 2 years ago, Connor got me a 12 by 12 canvas that I have been absolutely terrified to paint on, which is why I haven't touched it in the 2 years since he got it for me. And he was like, this thing literally cost me $3. You can put whatever you want on it. He's like, you don't need to be afraid. And I was like, but I am afraid because I don't paint on anything bigger than 5 by 7, 8 by 10. I work pretty small, so I was very afraid. But I was like, you know what? I need to get back into the groove of creating stuff, so we're gonna paint on this thing that scares me. And so I doodled around in my ugly sketchbook, trying to figure out what it was I wanted to paint on the canvas, also just trying to draw again. I made some real ugly sketches, and that's okay. Because that's sort of what happens when you haven't drawn in a month. It's totally fine to be rusty. So I'm gonna get to painting that in a mo, but before I do, I want to take a quick moment to say thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is an online learning community for creatives where you will find thousands of classes on pretty much anything you could want to learn. So pottery, illustration, there's courses on gouache and embroidery, productivity, etc., etc. So if you, like me, are in a bit of a creative rut, Skillshare is a great place to broaden your horizons and hopefully work your way out of that funk. I've been really, really keen on taking Sarah Boccaccini's Meadows let me see, Sarah Boccaccini Meadows' class, Botanical Illustration, Paint a Colorful Garden with Watercolor and Gouache. I'm rather rusty with traditional mediums, which you will see shortly, and I'm excited to take this class to get a better handle on the process of working with gouache and watercolor. Right now I just kind of like go at it, and I'm really impatient when it comes to painting, which is why I don't do it often, so I think it would be nice to like learn some semblance of flow when it comes to painting with traditional mediums. If you are interested in exploring your creativity, the first 1,000 people to click the link in the description will get a 2-month free trial of premium membership. And then, after that, it's less than $10 a month, which is pretty rad. So, thank you again to Skillshare. And now we're gonna get into the painting. I decided I was going to paint some cute little fruits. I initially thought that I was going to paint some like cute fruit friends, and then I decided to just not make them friends and just make them fruits. You'll see. So normally if you hear rustling, it's because I'm recording this while sat on my bed because our apartment is so warm and our bedroom is the coolest part of the whole joint. So I gotta be in here to make sure I'm not sweaty and gross. Anyway, I decided I want to paint a bunch of fruits, and so I started off by sketching with some red gouache. I kind of went very hapdash in working on this, which was very fun and super freeing because my aim when working on this piece, I was like, I don't need to make something perfect. I don't need to make something like super complicated and mind-blowing and amazing. I was like, I'm gonna make something that is fun, colorful, and simple. And if I mess up, I mess up, c'est la vie. And I was just sort of trying to just paint without worrying too much about the result. So that way I could, again, I'm just trying to ease myself back into the making process. So I was like, we're just gonna focus on the making. So I sketched out a couple fruits, first with gouache, and then I went in with like red pencil. And then I was like, you know what? I have the general shapes outlined, so I'm just gonna go in and fill in the background, which I want it to be blue. This very, very pretty blue, which I'm very keen on. And so that's what I did. At first I was like, do I want to paint over the fruits, and then do I want to just paint the whole canvas blue and then go in with the fruits later? And then I was like, no, I already kind of sketched out where I want them to be. And so I'm gonna like kind of honor that, which ended up being quite useful just for like the whole composition of the piece. I initially was trying to figure out additional fruits that I was going to put like next to the pear and over top to the left of the orange, but I ended up just sticking with a strawberry, a lemon, an orange, a pear, and an apple. So then once I had my blue all done, I went in and I got to start painting the fruits. I didn't mix a lot of colors for this. I pretty much stayed with the colors straight out of the tube. I think the only one that I mixed stuff for, I did mix stuff for the pear and for the orange, but the rest of it is all just like straight from the gouache tubes. I am using acrylic gouache, by the way. So I'm just painting the strawberry here, and luckily gouache is so opaque that if I needed to go over the blue, like at the edges of the painting, I totally could, which was a relief for me. And again, I was just like, I was trying to kind of lose myself in the process of painting, trying to really focus on like having fun. And I remember thinking, like, getting kind of frustrated that the spacing around them wasn't perfect, like that the strawberry was a little more, was like further inside the painting than the apple was on the other side. And I was upset by how it wasn't perfectly symmetrical. And I was like, do I want to just erase the apple and paint it in a little closer? And instead I was like, you know what? We will add in other elements later to balance it out, which is what I ended up doing. I also went in with another blue color. It's like, oh, I forget the names of these blues, but it's a slightly different blue. It's like a slightly more gray blue. And I just went in and painted little patches just to, like, I don't know, see what it would look like, add a little bit of depth. I thought it would be fun. And I think that it ultimately added, you know, just a little something. I was just trying to have fun with it. here I did decide that I actually wanted the apple to be a little bit further inside the painting. So I painted over the left side of it with the blue I used for the background. I actually do that a lot, you'll see, to just sort of kind of perfect the edges on the fruits and things. I just go in with the blue of the background just to kind of like help really sort of define the shapes that I'm after. At this point, I had no idea what the rest of the painting was going to look like. I was like, I'm just trying to focus on my fruits. I really like this green that I mixed for the pear. It makes me very happy. I think it's, I mixed like this bright neon green with like a little bit of an olive green, and it turned into this perfect pear color that I was really excited about because I wanted to use really bright colors, but I didn't want to use my neon green because I was planning on using that for the leaves, and so I mixed it a little bit. There's also a point here when I was painting my pear that the blue paint underneath the green paint started coming up. I don't know if you can see that right there. And so like, I was like, this isn't ideal, but then I just sort of pushed the peeled up paint to the edge of the pear, and then I just had to let it dry. My problem with traditional, like when I paint traditionally, is I get so impatient and I just like don't wait for things to dry when I should wait for things to dry, so that way like my layers don't get all messed up. Oh yeah, here I'm going in and I'm sort of trying to fix up the patches of the weird paint that came up when I was painting my pear. But like I really like the way that this was looking already. I liked how bright the colors were, and I think at this point I had already made the decision that I was no longer going to paint like little faces on the different fruits. I was just going to paint the fruits as they are, just to keep it simple and easy for myself, because I wanted to, you know, finish the thing instead of getting discouraged or frustrated or angry partway through. So I paint the orange, this like really pale, kind of like peachy orange. I go over it later because I'm like, this is not bright enough or saturated enough for me. It's way too kind of like delicate of a color. I was like, if I was painting a peach, this would be perfect, but I am not painting a peach. I am painting an orange. I go back and fix it later. I always have orange. I have a hard time like mixing. I feel like my oranges always end up too red, even when I only try and add just like a little bit of red to like the yellow. But again, that's just something that I'll get better at the more that I paint traditionally. Again, here's me going over the edges of the orange before it's dry, and so some of the orange paint mixes in with the blue and I have to go over it again later, but that's what I get for being an impatient lass. Also, I don't know if you can see it, but on the apple, I had used like a regular ballpoint pen to sketch on the canvas at one point, and then that ended up bleeding into the paint, so I had to do a lot of covering up there too. And then now I'm just sketching in the general shapes of the leaves, just with this really pretty bright green that I thought I was going to mix with something else, and I eventually decided, no, you know what? I'm just going to use this bright green, which made me very happy. This was so fun and freeing to work on. It has been, oh, there's the orange. There's the orange that I mixed. It's been so long since I've just like sat down and painted for an afternoon, and it was just lovely to just sit at my little tiny coffee table and listen to a scary podcast and just paint my heart away. Again, I think I talked about this in my last video, but I've been listening to the Magnus Archives, and I just finished season 2, and it is so scary. And I was listening to like the last few episodes of season 2 while I was painting this, and there were times when I kind of just had to like stop painting because I got so scared by what was going on. The sound design in this podcast is like S tier, and so I got all the heebie-jeebies. I'm just thinking back to it now. But now this means that I can start season 3 today, which I'm very excited about. Yeah, here again, I'm going in with the blue, sort of like cleaning up my borders and stuff. I also started adding in my stars, because I was like, do I want to add in a bunch of stars? And I think it was at this point where I was like, we are going to make stars another significant component of this painting. it was very odd to work on such a large scale for me, but again, it's not like too large of a scale. It is only a 12 by 12, but as a person who usually works like very, very small, it was a little daunting, but it wasn't nearly as scary as I thought it was going to be. When I initially started with the sketches and stuff, I was like, oh, this looks ugly, but you know what, it's fine, we'll just kind of keep going. And I kept going, and it turned out really cute, which is you know, kind of always it was a very nice surprise. This painting turned out way better than I thought it was going to, which is always a lovely happenstance. Oh yeah, and then my sweet little lemon. I love this yellow. It's just like straight up yellow, but I think it's such a pretty color. I'm such a fan. So once I painted in all my leaves, I started going in and painting in my stars. I do love my stars. They're such an easy way to just add a little pizzazz. This was also when I added pink, which I was very excited about because I was like, well, I know I want to do yellow, obviously. And then I was like, but do I want to do pink? And I did. And I like it so much. I was also trying to, not too much, but I was trying to push myself like a little bit out of my comfort zone with the colors and stuff, sort of like lean into the bright saturatedness. I also didn't worry if my stars were perfect, because I think that the lovely thing about these kind of like starburst type of stars is the fact that they aren't perfect and they're really sort of like jagged and messy. I knew that I wanted the painting to feel that like really kind of particular combination of feeling very like free and fun, but also very clean at the same time. I've become a little bit like bored with my art style lately. That might just because like, you know, I haven't made anything in a while, but I just feel like every time I make stuff, it's not quite how I want it to be. And I feel like I'm sort of like lacking stuff in my art that I want. And so this piece was like, I don't know, the whole process was about me kind of figuring out what I like, leaning into the art making stuff, and then also just sort of, I don't know, I'm just in a bit of an art crisis, I guess. I've been wanting to add a lot more like whimsy and like kind of magical and like stretched out like proportions and sort of, yeah, I guess whimsy is the word. I've just been wanting to add a lot of like whimsy and magic to my work, and so maybe this painting was like a little sort of glimpse into that, like a first foray into that kind of style. Like I'm thinking about some things that I painted a couple months ago, and like I'm thinking about like the head in the clouds or the girl who was like sleeping with the rainbow and stuff. Like I love those pieces because they feel very kind of floaty and magical, and like they're a part of another realm and a part of another world. And more, I find myself really being drawn to that type of work, stuff that feels like it's kind of between this world and the next, or like this world and like a magical realm. And I also really love artwork that like has really strong character design that like plays a lot with proportions and shapes. And so I'm trying really hard in this sort of like weird in-between space to like really pay attention to the things that I like and explore them, even if the exploration phase is super uncomfy and like feels awful. I recognize that it's super important if I want to break out of my comfort zone and stop making art that like bores me. You know what I mean? Also here, I started going in. I use Posca pens, which I find are so useful for like sketching out stuff. I have a bunch of Posca pens that I never use, so I was like, you know what, we're gonna break them out for this. And so I used them to sketch out some little like squiggly lines that I had. I also really liked the way that this like light blue looked on top of like the darker, more saturated blue. The Posca pens were also really useful for sketching out my little starburst shapes. And I drew that thin little pink line next to the blue. I go back and fix that later. I don't think I fix it on camera, but I do go back and fix it so that way they're all of an even weight. And it's so unfortunate that I don't really think the camera picked this up, but the color that I used in the squiggle is distinctly different from the color that I used in the orange. And I'm a bit bummed that they look the same on camera, because the one that I used in the squiggle, I forget what it's called now. I don't have it near me. I'll try and link below all the paint colors that I used if I can remember them. But it's this beautiful, like, kind of salmon-y color. And it's really lovely. Again, the Posca pens are so useful when it comes to sketching in so useful when it comes to sketching in the little star shapes. And then, of course, I had to go in and add the little shine on the fruit. Again, thank goodness for Posca pens. That way you can add little details. I don't think I'm ever going to be the kind of person that makes like full-blown Posca pen pieces. I'm so impressed by people that can do that, like people that do like really cool kind of like color blocking work with Posca pens. I see them on Twitter all the time and they are so impressive to me, and I don't understand how people put them together. Because I just use Posca pens for like accents and little bits and bobs in my work. Maybe I can try my hand at doing full-blown pieces. Who knows? Ooh, and then I like that I decided to go in and add the little white stars over the fruit. I think that added something special. Here, I'm going with the red Posca pen to do like a sketch for the little sort of trail that's going to be going out behind this star. I knew that I was going to be painting over it later. So the most important thing to me was that I was just getting like the shape of the trail to make sure that it was all going to like look okay at the end when it sort of all came together. I also went in and added some sparkles. Naturally, I actually go back with blue paint later and make them less long. I make them sort of like more square and even, which I think just worked better for this. And then I used a green Posca pen to go in and add like the details on the leaves. Yeah, this is how I like to use Posca pens. It's just for like details and little, just little bits and bobs and things. So, and I also use the Posca pens. I like sort of like clicked them, I guess, or pressed them on the painting to like dispense a bunch of paint, and then just pushed it around on the stars to help get them like super bright and saturated, because the yellow in the Posca pen was like super close to the yellow gouache I was using. And so I just sort of used the gouache stars as a base and just went over them with the Posca paint. And it helped really make them, you know, make them shine. Then I actually did this off camera, which I kind of regret. I think I was distracted by the podcast I was listening to. But I do go in and I fill in the little trail behind the yellow star, and I also fix this little pink line here. I extend it on both ends. But yeah, you can see how I filled in the little other trail. I decided to do it with the same colors as that one to sort of unify them across. But I was kind of shocked, frankly, at how much I liked this painting when I finished it, because when I went in, I was like, oh, I don't know if this is going to go the way I want it to. I don't think this is going to be like, I don't think this is going to sort of have like the vibe or be what I wanted it to be, because I kept doubting it, and I was like, do I want to just change my mind? Do I want to go back and start over? But I just kind of kept painting, and it ended up being really cute, and I was so surprised, and I was like, this feels really good. And it was, I cannot, like, I know it's a very simple painting. It's very like, you know, it's pretty like flat as far as like shading goes. It's nothing like groundbreaking or anything, but for me, it was so fun and freeing, and it reminded me that I can make stuff, because when you don't make things for a long time, you can like doubt your own ability, and for me at least, I get super insecure, and I feel like I'm never going to be able to draw again because I'm so rusty for like several days after getting back out of like a drawing hiatus. And so like making this was a huge relief for me almost, because I was like, oh my god, I can indeed make things, and I can make really cute fun things, and isn't that exciting? And it is. And so here I'm actually going over the little pink in the star trail with a pink Posca pen, just to sort of make it a little bit brighter, because it wasn't quite as didn't have enough pizzazz for me, I suppose. Yeah, this was so much fun to work on. It was so fun to work on a thing that, like, one, it was nice to finally paint on the canvas that Connor bought me 2 years ago that I've been too scared to paint on. It was so fun to like finally paint on that. I never paint on canvas, and now I kind of want to try more of it, and maybe, you know, next time maybe do something that's like more of like a scene or like a landscape or something. I really need to do landscape studies too. I got a lot of things that I need to work on, but ultimately I am so stoked with how it turned out. This is the full piece. This is the final thing. I'm so happy with it. I think it turned out really well, and I'm really proud of this thing that I made. I think it looks really cute. It's actually hanging up in the hallway in our apartment right now. And it was so fun. And I hope you had fun too. I hope that you enjoyed kind of coming on this art journey with me. It was so nice to make things with you again. Actually right here, I think, yep, there it is. This is a clip of me holding it up like a proud little student. But yeah, that's the video. That's the painting. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you had fun. Thank you again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. And go forth and make things, my friends. Also, I was definitely listening to the Mac. There it is. I got so scared. I got scared by what I was listening to, and so I had to like jump and cover my eyes because I was afraid. But yep, okay. That's all I have for you, my friends. I love you so much, and I will see you soon. Bye!